Welcome back! It's been a while since I did a Sailor Moon related kit painting video. Actually, the very first project of the channel was a Sailor Saturn one. Please don't go back and watch it, it's terrible. Those were my very beginnings in resin painting and I literally had no video production skills yet. So I actually painted on my kitchen table, very unprofessional. But it will be very funny to see in a couple of years when I progress. I actually bought that Sailor Saturn figure again, this time not from eBay but from E2046, and I do plan to paint it again and compare the two to see if I improved a bit or not. But now it's not the time for that. Today we are talking about the character Sailor V, who is also a creation of Naoko Takeuchi and was the predecessor of the worldwide sensation called Sailor Moon. She morphed into the character of Sailor Venus and became one of the Sailor Guardians of the show. This kit is also from E2046 and I was eyeing with it for some time now because I think the design of her is kinda cool, but it only recently got fulfilled and was in stock, so I grabbed it while I could. Buckle up because this is going to be a long video, as the figure is so detailed and has so many little parts that it took ages to complete. After unboxing and making sure everything was included, I did a small test fit, as I usually do, and started to cut off the casting stubs before sanding, drilling and pinning most of the parts. I'm on the fence with drilling and pinning because on one hand it's easier to hold and paint them, but sometimes the holes and the spikes do not align properly, or the superglue dries in a small clump on the surface and it stands out and the parts can't connect seamlessly, and it makes me so mad. I hate it. So sometimes I use it, sometimes not. I know there are painters who use magnets instead, for example, and I understand it with 3D prints. Those are usually prepared with slots where you can insert little magnets, but I couldn't imagine doing them on a small anime kit like this. If you've subscribed to my Patreon and had seen the painting video of the September project, which you have not, you would remember that I mentioned I switched to a different Vallejo primer, and instead of the grey one I used this creamy yellowish one. I decided to go with this lighter color, as many of these kits need to use whites, yellows or skin tones, which are already hard to paint by hand evenly, and when you have to cover up the greyish base it's even more demanding. I had noticed the differences immediately. It required less layers to go back and paint, and the white even pops out more vibrant and clean instead of being rather dull with the past grey base color. So the name of this new primer is called Desert Tan, and I really like it. There is still a little bit left in my old ghost grey color bottle, which I use mostly for this month's Patreon project, the not safe for work Ayla Sakura, who is a blue-skinned alien and wears darker colors anyway, so it was not a problem to cover up. If you want to see that video, don't forget to subscribe to my Patreon to tier 3, and as a welcome gift you will gain access to the previous month's video as well. Now with that out of the way, let's continue with Sailor V. Just like with the paint by numbers paintings, I start with the lighter colors as it's easier to cover with dark tones later. So I don't even know why I started to paint the skirt first. Maybe I was just excited about the blue, as I love blue, and I have this perfect shade of blue for the sailor outfit. Or maybe I was just stupid, as the skirt is attached to the leg, and I knew I had to go back to tidy it up anyway, so there's that. While I'm painting, I sometimes just space out. I usually entertain myself with music. I especially love Trashcast, which is a hilarious show on the channel Comic Artist Pro Secrets, owned by the former Marvel and DC comic book artist E2046. I love the humor. Sometimes I'm shaking of laughter so much that I have to pause painting because it will be all over the place. This time I really thought about the figure itself, Sailor V or Minako, as her real name is, and what I feel for the character. And for a long time I really despised her, and nowadays I do think it was unwarranted. I just never really liked arrogant, know-it-all characters, and it definitely rubbed me the wrong way that she shows up the last but is kinda made the leader of the Inner Guardians immediately. I mean, why? Mercury was found by Luna first. She's the first planet in the solar system. If anybody would deserve to be the leader, it's her. Then again, Ami is not a leader type of person. She is very introverted, but in the same time, she's also the only fighter who is not an attacker. She is there for the defense of the others. She's also the brain of the team. So those values alone could also make her a good leader. But no, of course, Sailor V or Sailor Venus had to be given this task, and I hated that. And I get it. Her story was the first one. She is also Takeuchi's baby. She has the other cat. And I guess there is a clear bias towards her. I just don't like it. So these were the kind of thoughts spinning in my head while doing this figure. Sorry if this rambling is incoherent. I will shut up for the rest, mostly. The kit did not come with an ID card, but for some time now it doesn't really scare me at all. I remember hating hand painting the eyes until I've learned a really cool method and I can actually see progress in my skill. So I started to go the usual way, first full black, then a layer of white with a small contour remaining on the edges for some realism, then light blue, dark blue, pupil and highlights. Then it occurred to me that I actually do have a special Sailor Moon ID card from E2046. They are based on the aesthetics of the Reboot series, very pretty. So it was funny. Maybe I will use it next time. I admit it, I sometimes use fine liner markers to add eyelashes, especially if the figure is fairly small. That's the only way it looks somewhat acceptable. And there she is. I ditched the original base as there was no freaking way for the statue to stand on it without falling over every single time, even with pinning. The reference image showed her glued to another round base which looked absolutely retarded, so I went with the simple round base I usually print for my figures that have no bases, and this way she is able to stand on her own. It might look weird a bit, but at least it's finished. Sorry if the footage is blurry sometimes, it was hard for the camera to focus due to the weird pose, but I tried to move closer to sharpen the view. Overall, I kinda like how it turned out, even though I have no real connection with the character per se. It was definitely a test of patience, which is something I really need to work on in future, because the figure was so detailed and had so many little parts. You might notice that something significant is missing from the statue, and it's her mask. Somewhere along the process, I misplaced it and now I can't find it. I tried to sculpt one from clay and failed hilariously, so I decided to scrap this altogether. It's really not going to ruin the whole picture. If I find it later, I can add it to her hand anyway. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the button and subscribe for more Sailor Moon content coming up. Please give me a follow on Instagram. I will try to post more there too. Thank you again. Bye.